You think messaging another girl is considered cheating?
For a man,
Yeah.
so I would have to compare it to a woman doing the same thing and let's see if it's the same, right? A woman, she has a man and she's messaging a guy, that is 100% treason. That's cheating.
Oh man! Oh god! Oh man! Oh god, this is gonna be rough. Welcome back to Let's Connect, your destination for peak experience. There is a lot of nonsense out there, and today we're going to be reacting from a clip from the No Fugazi podcast. I'm going to be examining the logic of this clip, and I'm using the word logic very loosely. First, let's establish a baseline. I'm going to assume, for the sake of sanity, that we're talking about individuals in a committed monogamous relationship. I refuse to watch a full episode of this brain rot, so feel free to let me know in the comments how much brain gold I'm missing. Outside of a committed monogamous relationship, any other arrangement doesn't really make sense for the context of this conversation, so I'm going to assume that. But if that's not the case, it weakens any other argument later on. God, I could just feel my brain falling out of my skull listening to this. Because listening to this, it made me feel like I was drunk. Okay, let's just roll the clip.
You think messaging another girl is considered cheating?
For a man,
Yeah.
so I would have to compare it to a woman doing the same thing and let's see if it's the same, right? A woman, she has a man and she's messaging a guy, that is 100% treason.
Well, we're not off to a great start. Just messaging a person doesn't automatically qualify as cheating. That's a stupidly basic stance to take. So she has to just cut off 50% of the population to deal with your insecurities? Let's keep an open mind. Let's hear your reasoning.
The reason why it's cheating is because women have the ability of choice because you have a whole lot of options.
Oh my god, what are we talking about? Okay, there's so much to unpack. Okay, so we're just going to pretend that context doesn't matter. Are we talking about a simple, hey, how are you, from an old classmate? Or are we sending ass and dick pics to the Wi-Fi with plans to buy condoms and meeting at the Holiday Inn? These are wildly different scenarios with wildly different implications. The content of the messages, the intent behind them, and the nature of relationship with the other person, in this case a man, are all critical details that shouldn't be ignored.
The reason why it's cheating is because women have the ability of choice because you have a whole lot of options.
Ugh. Well, it's news to me. I didn't realize that men didn't have choice. This premise seems to hinge on the fact that women have more sexual options than men, therefore making their messaging worse. This is a false equivalency. The fact that women have more sexual options is completely irrelevant when it comes to sending DMs. Everyone in a relationship has a fundamental choice to be faithful or not. Men have choices. We choose who we pursue, who we engage with, and crucially, we choose whether or not to honor our commitments with our partners. The number of options available to you doesn't negate your individual agency and responsibilities in a relationship. To suggest otherwise is to neglect personal accountability. When we use that word against women, these podcasters seem to get a hard-on for that word. Next, definitions are important. This takes me to my next critical point. He is conflating desire with action and thought with deed. This is a fundamental flaw in this argument. My analogy here is simple. Murder and intent to murder are not the same thing, and they shouldn't be in a relationship either. It's natural to feel attraction to other people, even when you're in a committed relationship, because attraction is not a choice. Just seeing someone attractive or even having a fleeting thought about them is not cheating. Cheating is a deliberate act that violates the agreed upon boundaries of your relationship. So just receiving or even answering a casual message? No, that's not cheating. But when you start making plans, when you're secretly communicating, when you're investing time, money, and emotional energy into a connection outside of your relationship, that's where we get into conspiracy to cheat. It's a clear progression towards infidelity. And while it might not be the physical act itself, it's certainly a betrayal of trust. And keeping it a stack, while physical infidelity is often seen as the ultimate betrayal, emotional infidelity can be just as, if not more, damaging to a relationship. He completely glosses over these nuances.
So since you have the ability of choice because you have a whole lot of options, that means that you disqualified a whole lot of other people and you chose the message back Tyrone.
Again, how does the number of options mean someone is cheating just by sending a DM? I really can't follow this shit.
So you cheated because something about Tyrone made you message him back. Now, men, on the other hand, we shoot darts because guess what? We're the ones messaging females, usually.
Yeah.
This is a pseudo-intellectual attempt to create a gender loophole for men to cheat, or at least take steps to cheat, and women can't. The number of people interested in you has zero bearing on your commitment to the person you're with. It's a distraction from the real issue of mutual respect and fidelity. All right, quick sidebar. I can't let that throwing dart situation go without comment. If you're blindly throwing darts and not precisely aiming, it simply means your approach lacks strategy. In other words, it implies that you don't have game. And just because you're throwing blindly like Stevie Wonder, it doesn't mean that you didn't attempt to hit the target.
Then we don't have those many options, right? We kind of take what we can get. We're as faithful as our options.
I bet he thought he was cooking when he dropped this bar. No, just no. This suggests that male fidelity is purely a matter of convenience or opportunity, not a conscious choice or an ethical principle. This statement completely absolves men of personal responsibility. Yes, and I want to be clear about this. Yes, it is much easier to be faithful when you don't have cheeks on speed dial, but at the end of the day, it's still a choice. It's a choice because true faithfulness, true commitment is tested only when you have options. And many men and women choose to remain faithful despite their optionality because it's about integrity, respect for their partner, and honoring their word. And not to mention, STDs, but we're not going to get into that. So no, it's not a hard requirement for men to be faithful only if no other woman wants to bang him. That's such a low bar, and it makes me think that he actually has a very low opinion of men.
So think about it. So since we kind of take what we can get, we don't have that emotional investment off the front end. Yeah. On the other hand, you don't take what you can get because you already disqualified a lot of it, but you chose Tyrone. So that means that you have a more emotional investment right off the front.
Am I drunk? What is he talking about? What does an emotional investment in the front end have anything to do with cheating? What are we doing? Well, I can't really follow this shit. So is he saying if there's no emotional investment, then it's not really cheating? So a purely physical act without emotional attachment isn't cheating in his book? Is that what we're doing here? Ugh, this is some, oh my God. Okay. So as you can see, this is some truly hopscotch ass logic. I'm really having a hard time following this shit. There are a lot of distractions and smoke and mirrors with what he was saying, and because he's very articulate, it can be very hard to track. But at the end of the day, essentially what he's talking about is he's hopscotching from one flawed idea to the next, because he wants to create an arbitrary distinction that allows men to cheat, or at least make attempts to cheat, while condemning women for the exact same behavior. And if you're not paying attention, it can be hard to see, but that's really what's going on.
So that means that what is it about Tyrone?
Wrapping this up, the idea that a woman messaging another guy is 100% treason because she has choice, while a man does a similar action and is somehow less severe because he has fewer options, is a convoluted mess of a flawed argument. Cheating in a committed relationship is about a breach of trust, a violation of boundaries, and a conscious choice to act outside of the agreed upon terms of that relationship. It's not about being a man or a woman. It's not about the number of options you have. And it's certainly not about whether or not you have emotional investment off the jump. It's about honesty, respect, and personal accountability.